Hey guys, welcome to the stream. So sorry for all the technical difficulties. I still can't see the chat up on my computer, which is what I use. So I'm going to use Mr. Serena's phone for the time being. So thank you guys for sticking around with me for this stream. I did not intend for this to happen. I don't know why my settings changed, but here we are. We have it figured out. So I wanted to go over some of the materials that I just got to the room today, or this month, because I think it's been a month since the last stream that I did. And so I have some like new materials, some new things for my P.O. box and patterns. And then of course I have a new sewing machine. So I want to share it with you guys today, and just get you up to speed of what I got going on. So hello. Thank you all for joining me. Robin says, I don't know. I don't really have any business being here. I don't even know how to sew, but over the years I've picked up a few Kenmore sewing machines. Maybe someday. Maybe someday. I mean, they're wonderful machines. I absolutely adore my Kenmores. Everybody knows that's my favorite sewing machine. Your mother says, I love your videos. Thank you. And Marilyn Wilson, hello from Arkansas. Hello. Thank you guys so much. Like, you don't know. Like, I was like, oh gosh, I had technical difficulties. Now nobody's going to stay for this stream. Or would you find the new stream? I'm not tech savvy, so thanks to Mr. Serena for helping us out. All right. We got hello from Canada and Houston. All right, so let's start with the very simple stuff. Hey, just mute it. We're still trying to get the chats up on my webcam. Or maybe we could, no, the TV's too much. So we're going to start with some patterns that I recently picked up. And so I think at the beginning of last month, I did my Space Girl outfit. And it was like a 1969 dress. And so I was still in that headspace when I decided to pick up this pattern. And it's so cute. It's Simplicity 7987. Let me put it by my head.
Did you see that chat? I'm trying to see, like, if anybody's texting chat.
I can see chat over here.
I'm saying, does it show where you messaged?
So, it's a size 12, bust 34, and it has 3 different views, and I really adore this stand collar with the bow, and I absolutely adore this dress. And I also, because I like the color blocking on this style of dress, I love that it had like the princess seams on it, because I feel like it would look really cute with doing like a fun colorway. And I'm thinking like a blue and green colorway would be super cute if I make another like Space Girl dress. So I got this pattern, and let's see if I can figure out the year. This one's from 1968, so right up the alley of the last dress that I made, and I adore it. And then I'm almost, like, I don't know that I want to do neoprene with this. I might try doing some sort of a silk later on when I'm like full swing back into fabric shopping again. I'm still trying to work from my stash as much as possible, and I feel like if I really clear out my stash, then eventually I will treat or reward myself maybe at the end of the year and get some nicer fabrics, because a lot of my stash is made up of fabrics that I bought when I was not as experienced as I am today, and I hadn't exactly found my style in vintage. I was still trying out a little of everything before I found what I felt most comfortable in. So I don't have a fabric that really suits like the amount of fabric I get, and by amount I mean like, so I have fabric that I love, but I don't have the yardage of said fabric, because I think back when I was like filling up my stash, it was still like 2 yards here, 3 yards there, and I really do like full dresses, so I only have I don't have enough to quite do that anymore. So I'm really trying to work through the stash, work with everything that I have, and I don't think that I will ever like rebuild my stash. I think from here on out, I'm going to start just buying fabric per pattern. I think when we had like shutdowns and stuff, I was so under prepared when it came to like having fabric that once stores and stuff started to open back up, I kind of went overboard. And so I just want to thin out my stash as much as possible and then like kind of start from scratch now that I know more about what it is that I like. I just dropped one of the items I wanted to show you. And then so here is another pattern. Here, let me take it out of the plastic. So because I do have these small cuts of fabric, I'm trying to make everything in like a very skinny or slim silhouette. And the chat is up, so I can see now. Thank you.
Yeah, it's the stream software is connected to the old chat as well.
Oh.
I had to use the too.
All right, thank you. All right, so I want to go with a more slim silhouette because these style patterns only require like maybe 2 yards, 3 yards. So exactly what I have in my stash. And so this is up. It's a, let's see if I can tell. I can't tell the pattern age by the envelope, so I'm gonna have to open it up. But this is super cute, and I have 2 yards of a brocade that I think will go perfectly with this. I especially love the hips on this pattern, and to achieve this look, you actually use netting to kind of give that like hip look, that little waspy hip look. And so I do have some stiff netting in my stash. I have a little bit of everything. And this is heavily inspired by watching Mad Men. I can't remember who had like a special occasion dress that I really liked, but I don't think that this exact dress is in there, but it's definitely gave me that vibe when I saw this pattern, so I picked it up. And it's been a while since I've actually bought patterns, so I'm really happy with myself because before I couldn't go like a week without buying patterns, and this year I have made huge changes to my shopping and I've really cut that down. So much so that we went to Joann's last weekend and the staff there was talking about me to me and didn't even realize it. I thought it was hilarious. Like I was dressed how I dress and the staff was like, "Oh, do you always dress like this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do." And they're like, "Oh, do you like this sort of style?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh, we've never really seen people dress like this outside of the internet." And this one other lady who comes in here, and I'm like, "Oh, you mean me?" And then she goes, "No, someone else." And she comes in here with her husband and her kids, and I'm like, "Yeah, they're in here too, me." And it was kind of funny because she didn't realize it's been me because it's been months since I've been there, and I'm kind of proud of myself for like really cutting back and sticking to my guns with pruning out my stash. Let's see a word from the chat. Hello, Angelique from Minnesota. I hope you guys are getting warm weather. Nadia, I started sewing with quilting and eventually donated a ton of fabric to Project Linus because I was just buying without a real focus. Learning from this, I've been buying per project for sewing. Yeah, and I kind of was. Let me fix this a little. I kind of prior to like shutdowns and lockdowns and things like that, I too was buying per project. And when everything got shut down, and I was pretty much like I felt like the only person in the sewing community who was underprepared and didn't have a stash to sew from. Also, I was pregnant when all that happened, so when I was making maternity clothes, I didn't have enough fabric to make a whole lot of anything, but I needed it because I didn't. With my first pregnancy, I didn't wear maternity clothes at all. I just wore my clothes until I gave birth. And, the stretchy nature of modern fabric or modern outfits, I didn't necessarily need to switch out my wardrobe. By the time I needed new clothes, I was about to give birth and I wasn't working or leaving the house really. So the second time, I kind of got caught up because the modern clothes that I used to have started to like itch and irritate my skin. So it's not like I could have just been like, well, drop the vintage and start wearing modern again, because my skin had changed from the first pregnancy. And then so when the second time came around, I felt like I didn't have any fabric. And then I kind of had like the scarcity mindset once the stores started to open back up. And I was like, okay, I need to buy a little of everything to make sure that I'm prepared. If anything like this ever happens again, I will have a stash. And then now, like, I'm on the other side of things. I'm just like, it's not that I don't love the fabric. It's just that, why did I get so little of the things that I did love? And like, some of it is like, why did I buy some of this? And then half of it is fabric that I designated for my 5-year-old who no longer wants me to make her clothes anymore. So those were short, like, cuts of fabric because they were for a little child who no longer wants to wear mom clothes. So it's just, I'm really just trying to, like, I want a fresh start. Um, Andrea from England, have you seen Hidden Figures? Yes, I've seen Hidden Figures. I even have the Hidden Figures Barbie doll. I used the Barbie doll for my daughter's first birthday. She had like a Barbie cake, you know, where the gown is the cake and the Barbie sits in the center. We had a tea party themed birthday. My very first birthday cake was one of those doll cakes that my grandmother made for me. And since my grandmother lives outside of the country, I decided to have a cake made for my daughter. And I used the Hidden Figures doll specifically because her hair was already vintage. So, like, she had like the 1950s hair. And then I made the dress and I made a hat for her. I can actually go grab that for you guys really, really quickly. Okay, yeah. So we're a Barbie household, and for the cake, she didn't wear her glasses, so she just wore. Oh, and she also didn't have a skirt in the cake because the cake was a skirt, and so I added on the skirt after the birthday party. But yeah, this is her, and I glued her hat on so it would stay on. And then my daughter had like a little mini version of this dress, and it's super cute. But yeah, I've seen Hidden Figures. I thought it was a really nice movie, and it was nice to see like their costumes and things of that nature. It was really cool. We are a Barbie house through and through, um, and that was her first Barbie dolls, so I thought it was really cool. Nadia Taylor, I will say, being in Japan, I can't get the same fabrics as the States, so it's easy not to buy. Etsy and all there takes at least 10 days from the States, so I don't have the instant gratification. I do not like shopping online for fabric. I do it more now than ever before because my shopping options have also slimmed down. But I really like to feel, because I'm self-taught and I don't know how people who like go to school for sewing or get taught by somebody else like learns about textiles and things like that. So because I'm self-taught, I really depend on like my other senses like touch to really figure out what it is that I want to use, because like I don't have like this list of like stored knowledge of fabrics until I've used it for the very first time. So I do prefer to go in store to buy my fabrics. And I'm at a huge disadvantage, I feel like, when it comes to shopping online, because then I get super disappointed when I get like colors that I didn't necessarily want, because you know the when you look at the screen, it's not necessarily the same. And I just hate online shopping. So even though, but there's double-edged sword. I hate shopping online, but then I actually enjoy it because you are helping smaller businesses. So like, but then I don't like waiting either. So let's get into the fabrics that I got when I went to Joann's last week. So they had a sale for $3.99 a yard for their quilters showcase. The very last video that I uploaded last week was for my patrons, and I made some pajamas. I have quite a bit of vintage pajama patterns, and I almost never make them unless it's around Christmas time, which means uh, I'm lacking in that department. I think I only have one Christmas pajama that I made that was suitable for spring and summer because it was just white, and then I made like a very Christmassy house coat to go over it. And I think that's about the extent of my spring and summer pajamas. And so I needed some more fabric, so I used bed sheets, and then I just went there. What did I go to Joann's for? It wasn't for fabric at all. It was for bias tape. Yeah, single fold bias tape, and I saw their sale, and I just picked some up because I was there, of course. No self-control. So I got this super groovy fabric. How cool is this? Oh my gosh, it's so happy. It's so bright. It's so vintage Barbie. It makes me very, very happy. And I think it'll look really cute in both my kitchen and my patio. So I picked it up and I got 4 yards of this because I want to make a shorter house coat. That's also an issue in my stash. I really like those like really long dramatic house coats. So most of my house coats stop at the ankle. And as much as I wear them through the winter, it's not very practical for the summer. Even though we keep the house rather cool, I do hop outside in my house coat and stuff, and it's just not practical. So I thought this was super cute. I felt like it would make a very nice, like, calf length house coat. And the fabric is relatively thin. Like this cotton from their line, this quilter showcase is quite thin. Like, so I think it'd be perfect for spring and summer. And so I got that. This isn't the daisy print that I wanted. They had another daisy print where it's on a white background and then it has these very big daisies in the colors that's shown, but there's just no wavy background. But I thought this was cool as an alternative. Then we have some yellow fabric here, and I actually thought this was going to be a little bit brighter, but this is kind of giving me fall yellow, which I think is perfect because then I can wear it now and then I can also layer and wear it in the fall because I wear yellow year round. So I kind of am glad that it's not on the citrus side. It's super cute. Oh, Avalon Dreaming says it would make very pretty 60s shift dress is sleeveless. Yes, absolutely. Marisha G, you are awesome. I love your designs. Thank you. Damon Wallington. I love this lovely I love this lovely lady. Thank you. I love you guys too. And then this is the final piece of fabric that I purchased, and it's this really is the backyard again called Uniqua, like the pink one with the big old dots. I feel like this is the orange version of her skin. And I felt like this was also a very groovy 1960s-ish. Like I feel like I could do something. And I actually got, I know I shouldn't have, but I think I got like 2 yards of this so I can make like a shift or a straight dress. Because it's super cute, and I feel like too much of this fabric would be too much. Like I couldn't imagine myself wearing like a full dress of this fabric because it might be too busy. So I figured that I would err on the simple side and like step out of my comfort zone. So maybe there is a mini dress in my future. We will see. But I really adore this fabric, and it's like this orange on orange. It's super cute and I love it. And that was it for fabric. Those have to go into the wash. So I actually, can you accidentally take a nap? Well, I accidentally took a nap before this stream, and then when I woke up, I realized that I forgot to put some of that in the wash because I was actually going to try to sew on this stream, and by try I mean I really wanted to see how, like, would the sound be annoying for you guys to hear the sewing machine going. Just test it out to see if sewing is something that I'm capable of doing here, because Ashley Main, my friend who does lives on Sundays, you guys should check her out. Ashley Main makes YouTube. She sews and does these, and I don't know how she's able to engage her audience and sew at the same time. And I wanted to see if I was capable, but my fabric wasn't washed in time because like I fell asleep. I've been exhausted. Like I got a lot done this week, but not all that I planned to get done. I made my son a Dandy Wellington inspired outfit from start to finish in a day. And then I also made my pajamas for Patreon, which I've been wearing all week. I just adore them. And then I started my Mother's Day outfit, which I have the bodice complete, and I just need to cut the skirt and put the zipper on it today. So I got a lot done, but I was hoping that the Mother's Day dress would be completed this week because it's like a two-piece outfit. That's why we don't have a video this week, because I couldn't decide if I should break the Mother's Day dress into a two-part video where I like just make the dress and then make the second part piece of it. I don't want to give away too much. And then I was like, well, I don't know. Do people watch 2-part videos anymore? So then I was like, maybe I should just put it all in one video, thus making me not have a video to upload this week. So I figured let's just go live because I didn't want to fall out of practice. And last but certainly not least, and I'm going to have to link this shop down below, and it's Betty Sparkle's Vintage Knitwear. It's made by Amanda from the UK. Look at me. What do I have? Let me grab my lint roller. So last summer, end of summer, or maybe early fall, I reached out to Betty Sparkles, who pretty much makes all of my knitwear, my vintage knitwear, because that is just something I am struggling to learn. I'm struggling to learn how to knit, and I'm actually not putting that much effort into it, so I'm getting what I put into it, which isn't much at all. And so I commissioned this 1950s sweater, and I tried to go for like the colorway of my living room, which is kind of green and yellow. And there's a waist on it. Super, super cute. And so I commissioned it months and months and months ago. I can't remember. She usually has like a long waiting list because she's super talented. And so I try and get on the waiting list as soon as possible, or as soon as I get like an idea in my head. And so I finally got my jumper, and it's so cute. I love the asymmetric like collar on it and the buttons. I wore this in my latest YouTube video. That was the day that I filmed the intro for that video is the day that this came in the mail, and I was so happy. Oh, Lenora Ashley Main. That's my friend that sews live on here. I have no idea how she does it. Also, she's like a great source for plus size vintage because she sews like plus size, so she only sews patterns that come in her size because she supports people who support her, and I think that's really cool. And I always try to send people over to her page that ask for plus size vintage because I only sew for myself right now, and like every so often I'll sew something for Mr. Serena, but if it's women looking for plus size sewing, then like I really can't help them over here. I can always recommend, but like I don't have firsthand experience with it because like I don't have anyone to put the clothes on. So Ashley Main, she sews vintage, and she sews a lot of stuff, but she also sews vintage, and she does plus size. So yeah, I love it so much. Super, super cute. I will tag her, get on the waiting list for next year or the end of the year. She knits pretty fast, but I don't know what her workload is right now. She's so fast, and she even goes out of her way to get like true vintage buttons too. So she uses true vintage pattern. She only makes one colorway once, so your piece is unique, and then she goes out of her way to get vintage buttons to match the garment. And this was from a 1950s knitting pattern that I chose, and she knitted up for me. And maybe one day I will figure it out on my own, but I don't see that day coming anytime soon. And then last but certainly not least, I have these earrings that were sent to me by Lassoed Moon on Instagram, and I'm going to link their website. And so there's these Art Deco. Oops, I'll just use one of them. This will be easier. These Art Deco earrings, and they reminded me so much of one, my bedroom, my Art Deco bedroom, but my wedding set has an emerald cut diamond in the center. And so I absolutely adore these earrings. They're super cute, and she was so kind to send them over to me. Like when I first saw them, I wanted to buy them immediately, and I didn't realize she was teasing us with them. So like when I couldn't find them on her website, I was like, did I dream this up, or do these actually exist? So Lassoed Moon over on Instagram, and then she also has a website, which I'm going to link below after this, to buy some earrings, because I do try to, when I am shopping now, or even showing people on my platform, I try to stick to small businesses as much as possible, and I absolutely love what she does over there. Super cool. And then we have the, let me move my line, the Janome over here. Let's see if I can turn this around. I have it set up for embroidery, so the hoop thingy might be in the way. Let's see. There you go. All right, so we have the Janome Skyline S9, which I've had for about a month now, I think. I'm officially a Janome maker. They asked me to try out this machine, and so far I have the first video up where I used it. A lot of people asked in the comments if I would not be using the vintage machines, and I will be using them together. This is just joined the fleet. It's not replacing a machine. And I specifically made sure to ask for a machine that was capable of embroidering, so that way it would not replace any machines. So it's just a nice addition. And I've been doing a lot of tests so far. It's really cool. I will say it's really cool. If you hadn't seen the first video that I made with it, I told you about a lot of things that I really love about this machine. Namely that you can sew just with the button. I feel like for accessibility, it's really cool. Like if you can't use a foot pedal and you can't use a knee lever, and so with vintage machines, you can use a foot pedal, you can use a knee lever, and you can use a hand crank. But if none of those things are accessible for you, this you can sew completely by just pressing the start and stop button and the reverse button, and everything's a button. And so I think it's a very accessible machine, and I think that's my favorite part of this entire machine, and the embroidery. And I want to clarify in the last video, because I was like, I told people that like I wanted to have a machine that was machine embroidery capable, whatever, and someone was like, you can embroider on a machine. You can technically do like a free motion embroidery with your zigzag stitch on your vintage sewing machines. I've seen super talented people do that, but in my humble opinion, it's kind of difficult. I've tried it before, and like anything else, like free motion embroidery is a skill that you have to build up to. So it's not going to be like, oh, I know how to use a sewing machine, so now I'm going to embroider with it. That's a skill just like sewing. Like you start off being not so great, and then you get a lot better. And so with this, it's computerized and it's pre-programmed. So I've seen people literally paint with their vintage sewing machines, and I'm blown away. But like you have to spend hours and hours and hours to get to that point. Me knowing how to make a complete garment with my vintage sewing machine is not the skills that I need to be able to paint with like in free motion. So this kind of helps skip the step. And I was heavily inspired by Sewstein on YouTube. She does amazing things with her embroidery machine, and I started watching her content maybe a couple years ago, and last year was the first time I was ever even considered getting a machine that was capable of machine embroidery. I was between getting a modern machine that does machine embroidery or getting a chain stitch vintage machine and learning how to chain stitch. Having this has not made me not want to learn how to chain stitch, so I'm just like, maybe down the road I will get a chain stitch machine, like an industrial Singer or chain stitch machine. But right now I'm having so much fun figuring this out, and I have so many ideas. I actually should go grab a test that I was working on over on Instagram. I'm gonna go grab it really quickly so I can show you guys. All right, so my next Janome project, I want to feature some embroidery, and I saw this really cute, I don't want to give it all away, but I saw this really cute 1950s dress on Pinterest, and it's a printed design, but I want to do it with embroidery, or at least recreate or simulate it with embroidery, so I've been practicing. So this is like my little stitches. And namely what I have to practice is lining the hoop up so that way it's like one continuous pattern down the length of the fabric. So it's like little green stems with yellow flowers. And I also need to learn about the stabilizers, because different stabilizers for different fabrics, for different projects. And like, so I just have so much to learn in between from now and my next like big project with it. So I've been learning that. I have to learn how to color sort, because believe it or not, I've had to pretty much change this is a single needle embroidery machine. So you have to switch out the colors in order to like every time you need to change colors, you manually have to switch it out. And so I need to learn how to use the color sort function, so that way all of the stems would be sewn on at once, and then all of the yellow flowers be sewn on. And I thought that the machine would do that automatically for me, and it doesn't. So I have to figure out that function, because I had to switch out the thread like 18 times, and that's not very it's not a very efficient thing, especially when I think that design said it would take like 18 minutes to do, and it took way longer than that because I was like flip-flopping between the threads. So that really sucked. Also, I'm learning about like what threads that I prefer and things like that. Like, there's so much to learn, like so much to learn. Damon, my uncle was a major costume designer on Broadway. Bernard Johnson, he received an award. Oh, that's so sweet. Edith Head herself personally presented it to him. That's really neat. That's so neat. I'm still trying to use my singer. Pin Savvy, thank you so much for being here. It's so great to have you, Savvy. Girl, you'll figure it out. It definitely takes practice, and I think with having this machine or just any new technique, it definitely brings you back to like square one of your sewing journey. Like, for instance, I do want to learn how to get better at my free motion embroidery. Right now, I can like free motion a monogram. Like, if I wanted to make an S right now, I can gladly pop a hoop onto my vintage machine, drop the feed dogs, and stitch that out like no problem. But like to make a whole like picture, that's crazy. And then the skilled people who make those painted pictures, they look like paintings. They don't look like a sewing machine did it. And for me, you would know a sewing machine did it. And so it's like you have to start over in a sense, because it's a whole new skill that has absolutely nothing to do with what you already know, apart from knowing how to turn the machine on. Like, that's about it. Like, you have to learn new tension, you have to reset your bobbin tension, you have to do all kinds of stuff with free motion that like I'm just not familiar with. And like it's really hard for me to like break away from what I'm like really good at and what I enjoy to like start from scratch. It's very intimidating, but I mean, it's definitely worth it. Um, Jerome, if I could do what you do, I could kill. I could fix all my old things. You absolutely could fix. I bet you. I mean, you don't even have to know what I can do to fix your old things. Like mending is a lot easier. Pinup seven. I can do makeup and hair real good. I can sew. I can sew to save my life. And Savvy, I cannot do what you do. I cannot do what you do. I can't do makeup in here. Like, literally, all I have on today is lipstick. That's it. I ran out of eyeliner maybe over a month ago, and I have not even felt like going to replace it. And I think I threw away my blush brush, because like I usually wear blush with my lipstick, but I'm almost sure I threw that away. So there hasn't been any blush for a month. And I bought four, because like my whole look relies on red lip and this specific red lip. So I bought four of these a couple months ago, because this is called Cranberry Stiletto by Beauty Bakery. And this color goes out of stock a lot. And for the last couple years, I've only been buying them one at a time. And then when it's time for me to get new lipstick, it's always out of stock. So when we went to the mountains to the Blue Ridge Tourist Court, they had like 4 in stock or something, and I bought all of them because I was like, you're not gonna catch me slipping. This is the only makeup I got left. But I definitely need to go get a new blush brush because I enjoy wearing blush, and I need some new eyeliner and mascara because I also like wearing those too. But like the facial complexion stuff, like I'm just not good at it, and it's not something I'm super interested in. So I'm just like, it is what it is, and I just lipstick makes me happy. And I will say that, like, when people grow up, like, looking at their grandparents, I feel like sometimes your, like, makeup mirrors that of the person you witness. And, like, my grandmother only wore lipstick and powder and perfume. So I feel like I've never felt compelled to do the full face makeup. One, because it's just not something that I'm heavily interested in. And if sewing ever taught me anything is like, if you're actually interested in it, then it's not a pain to do. And so when it comes to makeup, like, I'm not that interested, so it is a pain to do. And same with hair. I'm not that into it, so it is a pain to do. And I really, really wish I could outsource those things. Like, I wish I could just be like, hey, someone, can you please make me a retro looking wig that will last a certain amount of time before I need another one? And Savvy, I definitely will need, like, makeup tutorial help. Like, specifically for the beginners who aren't very good and just wants to be able to throw on a face really quick for like photos. Um, Fawny, do you like Victorian Edwardian fashion? I actually do. I think it's really pretty on other people. I actually made an Edwardian dress in October. I think October. And I used African fabrics to make it. It was gorgeous. It was extremely time consuming, and I did it on a period accurate sewing machine from my collection. And that was the highlight of the whole process, was using that old machine with the knee lever. That's when I realized that I absolutely do not like foot pedals, and I prefer a knee lever on my sewing machines, which you can adapt almost all of your sewing machines to have a knee lever, but I just haven't taken the step to do that on the machine I use on a regular basis just yet. That's why I love that it has a button function on the sewing machine. I didn't even unpack the pedal. I just decided that, look, I'm gonna learn how to use the button. So I was fumbling around at first, but I got it all together because I was just like, I don't want another pedal, because pedals travel a lot, and I know they have like sticky mats and things like that, but I just prefer to like use knee lever or even my finger. And I do have a antique hand crank on the way, so maybe when that gets here, if it gets here in one piece, I will make an Edwardian, a second one with a lighter fabric for like spring and summer. I'll make a second one using the hand crank machine, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna be extremely time consuming. Um, Nova Star, take your lipstick to Sephora to get it swatched to find a match, maybe the same brand. That's actually a really good idea. I probably could. I'm almost sure that I could probably get this color at like ColourPop or something like that. And like, I specifically like Beauty Bakery because it's a black-owned business. So that's why I also support their brand. But I'm actually planning on trying some new lipsticks soon, and I could probably do live on that. It should be here any day now, and it's also from a small business, a small woman-owned business. So I'm really excited to try those when they get here. Um, Love my button. Yes, the button is so cool. And that's definitely not something this is my very first modern machine, if you guys don't know. Like, I've never owned one, and I've never sewn on one, apart from when I was teaching a friend how to sew. She brought her brother over, and it's a smaller, less complex machine. And I think I stitched on it maybe once to help her with like tension or something like that. And then I never really touched it again after that. So I definitely like the button because I don't like chasing my pedal around the floor. But that's something that I didn't like for a very long time. And I think I state that in my Edwardian sewing video when I was just like, ooh, the little bar is a game changer. Like, the knee lever is a game changer. Absolutely love it. Sarah, do you recommend any brands to shop vintage clothing? I personally don't. I've never bought vintage reproduction clothes before, and the brands that reached out to me to work with them never wanted to pay me, so I never worked with them. And I don't support brands who thinks creators should work for free, so I cannot. But I know that there are other vintage beauties out here that do wear reproduction clothes, and you'll probably have to. I know Savvy does a lot of. She does a lot of promotions, so maybe Savvy can drop some She's really good about her reproduction clothing. Um, Gotta say, I love your styles. You're so talented and creative. Thank you. Um, Lori says the knee lever feels like you have more control. Yeah, I like that it just doesn't move. That's like my favorite part about it. Like the knee lever is where I put it and it stays where I put it. And the machine's so heavy that you know it's not traveling around it's not traveling around your desk. Like it's not going anywhere. My Futura, which we need to service my Singer Futura, but the desk actually has like a little built-in slot for where knee lever should go. I don't have the knee lever, but I'm going to get one for that machine because it's really nice. If you've never tried it, you should try it. Have you considered making a paper dress? My mom had one from the 60s. Is there a specific fabric to use for that? Like I thought the paper dresses were like bought. I'm pretty sure you'd have to use like a specific material for it so it doesn't just fall apart, you know? I think that would be really cool though. I think I would enjoy that a lot. I actually saw one on Marketplace, a paper dress on Marketplace, and I should have bought it when I had the chance. But I figured like what am I gonna use it for? To me, treadle sewing machines is like rocket science. My mom tried to teach me. I want a treadle. I want a treadle so bad, and but I want a specific treadle that I haven't seen pop up on Marketplace just yet. So that's why I haven't bought one. I want one made by the brand called White, because at one point they were being manufactured at the same, like I guess the same company was manufacturing Kenmore's, and I'm like I want a treadle that is as close in relatives as Kenmore as possible because that's my brand, you know. Sarah, do you make all the clothes you wear? Absolutely, including this outfit. One, it's a fun activity for me to do. You get the fit you want, you get the color you want, and more recently, like I said earlier, my skin has changed a lot since having my first child, and now I get to choose the materials that feel the best on my skin, which I wouldn't have been able to do just shopping. Um, hey, great catching you live. Welcome, welcome. About to start a suit featuring the costume blazer you sewed your husband. Any additional tips for that you can offer outside of video? Um, First of all, that's exciting. Please send me photos if you can or if you want to. I'd love to see it when you're done. That jacket is not lined. That costume jacket that I made, it's not lined. However, I am in a vintage men's group over on Facebook, and they don't make clothes, but they do collect vintage men's clothes, and I was able to see the inside of a vintage men's jacket, and not all of them were lined. It was like a sport, I don't know the technical terms. I don't know if it's a sport coat. It looked like a suit coat, whatever. And it was also unlined, and I thought that all men's coats had to be lined, but they don't. So instead, they use seam binding to cover all of the raw edges. So that's something I did not do in my husband's jacket. And from here on out, especially since he's very hot natured, I think I would go with that as opposed to lining it, unless he's specifically going to a special occasion place where I know for a fact that like him taking off his jacket and the insides will be exposed. But I would do seam binding on that jacket if I had to do it again. Where do you find fabrics? I find it so tough to find good fabric. I have the same problem, and right now I am just using, like when I am shopping, I'm using Etsy, and then I'm going off of other people's recommendations depending on the type. So if I'm looking for like linen, I think Burley and Thurlborough, Thornborough, I think the name is. I'm gonna link the places down below. But they were a great place for wools and cottons. But because they're more historic, I'm actually gonna look it up for you guys. Um, oh, Burnley and Throwbridge Company. Because they do more like historic fabrics and things like that. I feel like the colors are not very mid-century modern. So if that's your thing like me, then the colors are limited, but the quality is there. And Etsy, I've been finding some really pretty brocades over there. I did like Mood for brocades, but I found this company over on Etsy that I think has even better quality than Mood. Mood is a good place as well, and that of course like your budget plays a big role in that, and that's another reason why I'm trying to like sew through my stash and then be more purposeful with my sewing because I would like to try nicer fabrics, and so I want to limit how much like of the cheaper stuff that I'm buying so that way I can just save up for like more expensive projects and work on some bigger projects because now I want to really flex my skill and like I want to learn more. Like I'm at the point now where like I feel like my closet is like I can every day of the week I can wear vintage. I don't ever have to implement any kind of modern or bought clothes into my wardrobe. So now I get to really like experiment. At first I started my vintage sewing journey as just to replace my wardrobe, and now that's done. I want to start learning more and just get better. Like I feel like I could be so much better. Um, Angelique, thanks for that video and baby doll pajamas. I remember I had a lime green pair as a teenager and that I absolutely loved. No problem. I need to do more. I found that because I was like, I want to make this content because I just need pajamas. I am so happy to make a house coat because it's dramatic and over the top. And then when it's time to do like the little stuff that like nobody cares about, like your pajamas or like underwear and stuff like that, and just I kind of put it off because it's just not as fun. And so I was like, maybe I need to make more pajama content to force myself to actually make the pajamas because I want them. It's just they're not as spectacular as like a full dress. Roxanne said a cotton lining. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you could do a cotton lining as well. I actually want to try making like a seersucker version of that, and I think it would be really cute because especially since we get really hot summers, I would love to make that suit jacket again with like a seersucker and possibly shorts. How cool would that be? Damon says it's like the coolest sister you can have in my heart and mind. I have a lot of siblings, so if anything I can be is a sister. For the paper dress, you could create your own fabric. But what paper would you use? Like what type of paper and where would I get it? Definitely open for suggestions because I think this would be a really cool project. Ooh, Debbie made her daughter's wedding dress. You know, I would be so honored. Maybe that's like my end goal. Like get as good as I possibly can. So maybe one day either like one of my kids will ask me to make their like wedding garments. I would be honored. Literally, I'd die and come back to life to make the garment. Great graphic fabrics make sewing PJs fun. Honestly, that's the problem. When I get the really great fabrics, I'm like, the world needs to see this fabric, so it needs to be an outfit. I can't I I can't tell you how many like pieces of fabric that I bought specifically for pajamas that don't get turned into pajamas because I'm like, these are too cute to be in the house. That's why when I got this, and actually I'm really glad that I told you guys that this is going to be pajamas because even since it's been in my possession, I've been thinking, but what if I make something else with this fabric? Because I'm like, this is too cute to be in the house, but it's not too cute to be in the house. Like you can be cute in the house. Like I literally preach it all the time. And so I want to use this for the house because it's super cute. I even considered like making something for my daughter who doesn't even want to wear my clothes because now she's back in this phase again where she's like asking me to make her stuff. And I did that over what, October was the last time I made her an outfit. Yeah, she totally conned me. She was just like, I want you to make this. I want you to make this. I want you to make this. And of course I got super excited. And then I made it and then she never wore it. And I was like, ooh, I fooled myself. Like I should have known you weren't gonna wear it. Manifesting your children want you to sew them clothes for their most important memories as they grow. Thank you so much. I want that so bad. And of course I'll be okay if they don't want me to, but like, you know, I feel like it would just be the highlight of my whole entire life if they did. Did you ever want to make a fashion business or a clothing line? No, Sarah. I didn't even want to do this, to be quite honest. I kind of like fell into One second, huh?
Are you still okay?
Mhm.
You need
Thanks.
anything?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Thank you. So I kind of just fell into this because I was like in a place where it's like I'm a stay-at-home mom. I need social interaction. A friend of mine, the same one I was teaching how to sew, was like, "You sew so much. You should upload it." And I was like, "Oh, that sounds like a great way to meet people who also like vintage, so I could start making friends or even community that actually enjoys the things that I enjoy." And then it just boom. Now I'm here with a whole bunch of followers and it's just taken away. But like, yeah, when I first started this, I couldn't even sew very well. So I just wanted to share my journey from dressing modern ish to being full time dressing vintage. And then I made so many great connections and a beautiful community. Like I have a lovely community. You guys are so sweet and patient and all around very respectful of my boundaries. And I've never really brought that up, but like I have to thank you guys for that because I feel like on social media people can be so invasive and I set boundaries straight away because I was like this is for me, this is what I want to do and I don't want to necessarily drag my family into this because this is supposed to just be a hobby. And you guys have been so respectful. I was terrified of sharing my pregnancy because I felt like you guys would request that like I share the baby and share this, that, and the other. And I kept it about fashion and everyone was very respectful of that. And like I feel like I am in the minority of people who have like a very like not so pushy and accepting audience and I gotta thank you guys for that. You guys are wonderful. Lori says because you're kind and you attract kind people. Thank you. Like I definitely have to thank you guys for the whole privacy situation because I think it's definitely easy. Also for me, I was in this place where I wear a lot of cottons. That's no secret around here. And I specifically wear cottons because they are easy to wash. And so I still have to dress for my lifestyle, which is a stay at home mom. And I would, at the very beginning, I would get a lot of comments of people saying, like, my outfits would be so much better if I didn't use that type of fabric. And it was just like, how do I say, hey, I'm a mom and I'm dressing for my lifestyle without being like, hey, this is a lifestyle family channel. Welcome to all of my like personal life, you know? And so like I was like, I don't know how to balance the two. And so once I did start to open up about it, no one pushed any further. Like you guys are very accepting that like, hey, this is my life and my hobby, and I want to respect my family's privacy because they have their own life and their own hobbies. What celebs and public figures would you like to sew a vintage outfit the most? Probably none. I don't know that I want my clothes on like a world stage like that. And yeah, no, probably none. I would like to like if I had the opportunity to like work with a celebrity, I would like to help style and design maybe their clothes, but like to actually put forth the work of creating said outfit, probably not. Plus these people, they're not wearing Serena from at home's outfits. They're wearing these like high end fashion structured garments that like yeah. I don't know that I want like my stuff up there. Like I'm very content with the what I make here and I don't want to feel bad about what I make. So maybe not having a celebrity in my outfits might be good for my psyche. Um well, see, Destin, I don't always leave politics out. It depends on what I'm capable of doing. Religion is out just because like I'm not a religious person. Um Also, I'm respectful that like everybody doesn't have all the same religions, so it's just like I don't know. That's not something I'm really interested in, but like politics and stuff like that, I do bring it up every once in a while, and it just depends on what like mentally I can handle. Because right now I'm having to look out for my own mental health and raise children in the not so safest place in the world, and it's a lot. And so I really try to manage the best I can, and talking about those topics over and over and over again does nothing for me mentally. So I try to handle like talk about and like deal with stuff the way that I can handle it because like with social media you're not talking about something once. If you make a post about something then you have to constantly like keep talking about it. So like talking about it once is good, but then like talking about it over and over and over again, it really just it gets me personally down, and I don't really like. It's hard to come back from that once I get down that hole. Um, uh, is there any famous stars from the past that inspire you or your style? No. Um, so I like to look at old normal people pictures. So I go on Pinterest and I look at regular people from the time, because like there's plenty of stars and they get recognition, but I feel like the normal everyday black person falls through the cracks of vintage. So I try and look up just ordinary people, and that works in my real life too, because the people I admire the most are ordinary everyday people. They're my friends here on social media, and the men and women in my actual life. So I try and like just, I don't know, pay homage to like the ordinary people of the world, because we're the ones who are not going to be remembered. You know, the famous people, they have lots of admirers, and we admired forever and ever. I'd love to see Serena tackle a Pride and Prejudice era gown. I have a confession. I've never seen Pride and Prejudice. So I don't know what era that is. But I'm sure, like, when it comes to historical fashion, I would love to try more stuff like that. Because there's so much I don't know about that world. And the costume Edwardian dress, because it wasn't a true vintage Edwardian or true antique dress, it was a simplicity costume pattern, and so lots of steps were skipped because it was a costume. There, I could tell that there were a lot of historic elements, but there was a lot of things that were done to the costume pattern to make up for the less structured parts of the gown. Like there was no padding, there was no corsetry, there was no nothing. And so I'm sure that there were alterations in the costume pattern to make up for that. So I would love to try an Edwardian dress using a true vintage pattern, so I can take on all of that extra. And as I start to get sponsors and things, because so far my channel has been 100% funded by me, and so as I'm growing in that department, I'll be able to try new things, and I really look forward to that in the future. Oh, you have such talent. I can see you leading the change and bringing vintage. How do you learn how to use patterns from school? No, actually, my mother-in-law taught me, sorta. She basically taught me how to cut out. She During my very quick lesson, and I do mean quick, it was probably like 10 minutes of her time. She showed me to cut out patterns, to cut out the little notches, the triangles, and she basically told me that the notches is where things meet up. And after that, she was like, read the instructions. And yeah, that's it. And so for me, the instructions are really important. When people say, how do you read a vintage pattern? I'm like, just read the instructions, because that's pretty much all I had help with. I was just told to read the instructions. And then another thing is, because of good old YouTube and the internet, you can, wherever you're like stumped in the instructions, which is usually going to be a technique, you can always type in that exact technique into YouTube, and you'll find somebody who can demonstrate it for you. So I say the instructions are really good, and then as a supplement, the internet is perfect. Whatever you can't figure out, then the internet can help supplement. That's exactly how I learned from start to finish. Pin-up savvy. Have you ever done a Marie Antoinette type dress? Oh, what I love. I would love to do that. I kind of wanted to make my daughter like a mini one, because for me, whatever I can't afford to do in my size, I will just make a small version of it. That's another thing that I tell beginners. If you can get like an American doll, is it American Girl doll, one of those like 18 or 16-inch dolls, a lot of pattern companies make doll patterns, and the construction is the exact same way as you would make an adult size pattern, with the exception of putting in a zipper. You'll just use Velcro instead. So like it's really good to use like a smaller scale. When I made my first winter coat, I made it in my daughter's size first, and then I made myself one afterwards, because absolutely all the steps are exactly the same, including making shoulder pads. All of it is the same, except for you don't waste as much fabric making it full size. So if you have a friend who has a child, start making clothes for them, or get you a doll and do it that way. If you are concerned with like making like wasting materials, or just, you know, spending a whole bunch of time on making something big for you and then it doesn't actually fit. So I like doing it on a smaller scale. So I would love to do a Marie Antoinette thing, and I've wanted to make one for my daughter instead of me, just to test it out and see if it's something I would want to do on a larger scale. So yeah, just I would like to do that. It's just a matter of affording it, because that's a lot of fabric. And it's a lot of fabric for something that I wouldn't wear on a regular basis because I'm not a costumer. My tube's really good at explaining as she sews and does adjustments. My bucolic life? That's really cool. I need to do way more research. I want to learn how to drape. I want to get better, sort of better at adjusting. So like I can adjust patterns to fit me, but I learned before my last pregnancy that making things fit just right doesn't fit my lifestyle, because one, I do get really attached to the pieces that I make, and then when like my body fluctuates and I can no longer fit that garment, I'm really pissed off about it. So now I haven't been fitting things as close as I could, because I really want to be able to continue to wear my garments later. Kind of learned my lesson in that case. I use sheets for mock-ups. Yeah, sheets are wonderful for mock-ups. I do too. But I think for just learning in general, like learning how to follow a pattern and stuff, it would just be easier to work on like a smaller scale, so you can always start over and it's not super time consuming. Because once you can follow the instructions for a tiny pattern, then you can follow the same instructions for a larger pattern. My very first pattern was like a bra top, so even that was small. It was just like a 1950s like playset bra top. That was my very first pattern. So I just recommend to just go small in general until you get the hang of following directions. Thank you, Dadia. Thank you so much. Hello, Ashley. It's so nice to have you. I always forget that you are an hour behind, Ashley. So whenever I join in, I'm like forgetting all the time. Like I forget all the time. Your show just made a 50s dress mock-up with the quilting cotton, but it came out cute enough to wear. Wearable mock-ups are your bestie. I have so many wearable mock-ups. It's to the point where I almost never, like I save muslin material specifically for like suits and things like that. When it comes to dresses, usually the first one that you guys see here on YouTube, if it's like an inexpensive fabric, then it's usually my wearable mock-up. But I don't call it that because like I do everything the way that I intend to, so that way it looks as nice and purposeful, you know. So my Mother's Day dress, I have made that dress once already on my channel, two times in general, and this is the very first time that I'm making it out of like a special occasion fabric, and I'm so excited to share it with you guys. Like I thought I loved the dress before, it's my favorite pattern, but now my brain's like, ooh, what other favorite patterns can I use like fancy fabric to make stuff out of? You guys are wonderful. How long have we been on here? I didn't even get to, we've been talking about sewing. I didn't even get into any of the I didn't get into any of the Marvelous Miss Maisel stuff. Such a Oh, we've already been on here for an hour. Over an hour. So are you guys watching Marvelous Miss Maisel? I don't want to give any spoilers, so I can always do another live. Oh, don't forget to hit the like if you haven't already. It helps everybody see the chat. Hi, Maya. It helps get the live stream out to other people. So hit the like button. Such a fun Saturday. It's been so nice to have you, especially if you came over from the first stream that kind of failed. I appreciate it so much. And so what I think I'm going to do. Oh, you're only okay. So I have been struggling through this season because it's not that fun. It's kind of boring, and so I think I'm like I feel like I've been watching each episode in two different parts.
Do you want anything?
No, I feel like I've been watching each episode in two different parts. So I don't know. It's just not fun, and I haven't been having fun for a long time. Like I feel like you can tell that they've given up on the series, which really sucks. But yeah, we can definitely put it off if a lot of you haven't seen it yet because I don't want to do any spoilers. And plus, I'm like so behind. I didn't watch last week and I didn't watch this week, so I have to catch up there. And then on I can't remember where I left off on Mad Men because for whatever I use one of those like streaming sticky thingies to watch cable TV, and that seems to be the only show that keeps screwing up, and I don't know why. So yeah, it pauses or freezes in like 10-minute increments. So it's really hard. It's really hard to get through an episode when it's like pausing all the time. It's driving me crazy. But I did find out that little jerk that we all don't like, well, most of us don't like, has the Frigidaire flare, and I'm like, ew. What's his name? Um, Peter. Peter has my stove. Ew. Okay, Aline. Thank you so much, Aline, for the super chat. My favorite seamstress spent the whole day hemming chiffon on 6 bridesmaids' dresses. I'm shook. I'm shook. Because I feel like it would have taken me the whole day to maybe do maybe 2 of them, and you've done 6. Well, congratulations. Thank you so much for the super chat. I would have like popped a what do you call this? The rolled seam. I would have set my serger to do like a rolled hem or whatever, and I would have ran them all through the serger. That's a lot. That is crazy. What kind of foot are you using? Are you using like a narrow hem foot for that? Like, or are you doing them by hand? I feel like if I was just making my dress alone, I would do it by hand. This is the foot. I need to put this back up. Sorry, my sinuses are so bad. Like, you guys see me in the garden a lot if you follow me on Instagram, but what I don't tell y'all is that I'm really 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 allergic, and I usually make myself extremely sick every single day. But I love the flowers. Oh. Yes, the rolled hem foot. I have an eighth. This is for my Kenmore. I like to do the rolled hem by hand, but if I had to do as much as you had to do, there's just no way. I would have to use it by machine. Um, there's a trick for starting it. So you want to crease the fabric by hand, and then I think I used paper. You can use, if it's a really thin fabric, use tissue paper underneath first to get it started, and so your feed dog doesn't eat up the fabric. You can also use a little strip of cotton and sew it first, so that way you can like pull the chiffon or whatever main fabric you're using through. And then once you get through it, like once you get started, you're good. But I find that creasing the fabric with your hands and not an iron first helps. But I guess it depends on other people. I'm no expert, but like I've tried different ways, and I feel like creasing it with my hand as opposed to an iron works best. But I personally love doing the rolled hem by hand. It looks a lot more delicate. it invisible than doing it by machine or by serger. But again, if I had to do like six dresses, they're going through that serger. Ashley, you're so pretty. Thank you very much. Lee, you would go crazy in my uncle's garage. What's in your uncle's garage? Does he have lots of sewing machines or does he have a lot of pretty classic cars? Um, isn't a rolled hem pretty much a flat, narrow hem? It is. It depends on the machine. Like if you're doing it on by sewing machine, then it's like a flat, tiny, narrow hem. If you're doing it by serger, then it's like kind of circular and then it's wrapped by all the threads. And if you're doing it by hand, it's rolled and all of the stitching is pretty much invisible. Like it's like doing a blind hem while rolling the fabric, if that makes sense. So it depends on which method you use, but if you use a sewing machine, then it is flat and narrow. Lee, he has 5 hot rods from the 30s and old gas pumps restored and lots of neon from the 40s and 50s too. That is a dream. And I did say that once we get the Corvair done, that we need to remodel our garage because the garage is still in its original 50s state and it's kind of not so cute in there. So I wanted to like paint the walls, paint the floor, be more organized and intentional with our storage situation. And then it doesn't have a ceiling, like the beams are exposed, so I don't know if we would put a ceiling in there, but I do want to restore and or buy a restored gas pump. Like I feel like we always have to make everything because it's the more affordable way of doing things. But I feel like it would be a good idea to like save up and just get like an already restored gas pump for in there. I think it would be really cool. So that's something I would like to do for the Corvair. We only have a 2-car garage though, so we can't have like a fleet of vintage cars. We could probably get another smaller car. Like I can't imagine us getting like a big Chevy, but we could probably fit like another Corvair, possibly a convertible in there. See, Dustin, I have to get dinner served up. Love your videos. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful dinner. What did you guys have for dinner tonight? I woke up an hour before the stream, so I had a bowl of cereal, some french fries, and a glass of wine. So once we're done here, I'm going to go eat some more. Lee, I showed my buddy your Corvair. He has one too. It's a silver one. That is so cool. I am loving the Corvair crew. I have a Galaxy 500 I'm working on. That's neat. That's really cool. I'm actually surprised at how many people are interested in the car because like I'm a sewing channel and so it's always strange to introduce other things. Like when I started doing some of the home decor content or just sharing my home decor, I didn't think people would be that interested. And then so I felt like the cars are like so out of my lane, especially since that's mostly like my husband's project that he's doing on my behalf or at my request. And so I'm like surprised at how many people are interested in it because like I can't really add too much to it. I really thought that we were going to get a car that was going to need upholstery and that was going to be my thing. And this one's pretty clean, so I don't have to do any of that. So yeah, I'm really excited that you guys are excited about the car. I think the hardest thing with the Corvair, like repairs wise, is finding someone who paints. Because apparently, through all the searching, because I like to get like an idea of what a budget would be for something like that, and nobody wants to paint a whole car. Like nobody wants to do that, and I don't intend on changing the color at all. I want it to stay its original like paint code or as close to as possible. But nobody wants to do a whole car, and like I need the whole car repainted pretty much. My husband has a 69 Camaro convertible and is trying to get a 63 Corvette. I prefer to sew and wear 40s and 50s. Yes, that is so cool. Are you going to have his and hers? Sue M. Congrats on your channel success. You are a new Gertie, but you will have your own Big Four pattern in a year. Thank you so much, Sue. That's so sweet of you. I would love to design more. Gertie actually gave me the chance to do that last year, and it was so neat. It was like nothing I'd ever done before, and even though like my patterns were smaller because it was a part of her Patreon release, so she tends to do things that are a little bit smaller, so that way it's easy for you to make it without like picture instructions. It was a fun process, and oh, I'd be thrilled if I got an opportunity to do something like a full garment later on. I would love that. The Corvair is awesome. Thank you. It is. I think it's really neat. And I can't wait to drive it again. It's so sad that I only got to that if you see my reels and stuff where I like drive it into the driveway, that's the only chance that I got to drive the car, and it sucks. It sucks. But we wanted to start work as soon as possible, so that meant taking it apart, getting the battery out as soon as we got it home. Debbie said, I saw a gas pump at the antique store in Landrum, South Carolina. I've seen them a lot in the mountains. Like when we've gone to like Helen, Georgia, like riding up there, a lot of antique stores have them. And I actually looked it up on Facebook Marketplace, and there's quite a lot around. So I probably just get one of those. You have to go to a shop that specializes in painting car. They have experience with classic cars. I actually found one that's a ways away, so we have to. I don't know how we're gonna get a quote because it's like 2 hours away, and I can't imagine getting a flatbed to take the car out to get a quote. But it is ideal to like get it done while we're still working on the motor. I don't know. I don't know what we're gonna do. But I know any place like local that would make it very convenient to get painted, they just want to do like touch ups. A Stitch in Time, Serena's Vintage Lifestyle Show idea. Ooh, that'd be fun. Um, if you get your own patterns, I want an autographed copy. Oh, absolutely. I would absolutely have to make you guys an autographed copy. I still have to like release I have to order samples. That's what's holding up my merch is just ordering samples. When I don't know about everybody else, but whenever I sell merch, I try and buy everything that I'm offering. And so that way I can at least see what it's going to be like for you guys because I just don't want to sell crap with my name on it. And so, like, I have to buy more, like, samples and stuff because since I moved, I can't work with any of the local brands that or companies that I was working with before. I'm going to try online companies instead, whereas before I was working with people where I could just, like, leave my house in 5 minutes. I can check on samples and check on the stuff that they have, and I just don't have that convenience anymore. Uh, I want to use my embroidery function more to add designs to my dresses. Which channels do you watch for the inspiration? For the embroidery, I go to Sew Steams, and like I don't know that I've ever seen anybody use an embroidery function on a machine to do what she does. Like I mean, she has like an industrial embroidery machine, but she started out on like a home grade one, like the ones we have, like a single stitch one, and the way that she like goes in on her historical projects, I'm like vintage projects aren't as heavily embroidered as what she does, so if she can do all of that on a single stitch machine, then I can very well figure out how to do it on a like home machine for like 50s 40s designs. So I want to get a digitizer because a lot of vintage patterns come with the embroidery transfer sheets. So I want to start digitizing some of those embroidery transfers and doing it by machine. And then also I would like to make some of my own. I have a, let me grab it. I have a catalog. I think it's a Montgomery Ward catalog. And I would like to like search through the catalog and like recreate stuff from a catalog. So I'll show you it. Yeah, it's a Montgomery Ward from 1949. But in it's at the part of the decade where pretty much most of it looks like 1950s clothing. Um, like you can definitely tell that they were in between like decades. Oop, there we go. See? Um, so much to go through. And in fact, I haven't really been through this since I got the embroidery machine. So I need to go back through it again. Like, look at these undies. Like, you could do, like, cool. I want to do cut work on this machine. So also, these catalogs are amazing. If you can get your hands on some catalogs, they're really cool because they actually tell you what the materials are. So if you're like me, where I said earlier that because I'm self-taught, I don't know a whole lot about materials, this helps a lot. Like obviously, the back of the patterns tell you what materials to use, but this is really cool too. So neat. And then if you're also into interior designs, like I definitely recommend a catalog because when you can also see like what they would have used for like kitchen curtains. this is so, this is so amateur, but I have to get another webcam. Whenever I intended to get a second webcam when I first started streaming, but I'm like I haven't been streaming enough to justify getting a second one. But when I do, like look at these appliances, like get out of town. Like look at that, so cool. My local antique store had the catalog. But eBay's a really good place to look. I paid $34.95 for this catalog. They're always on the expensive side, and then if you get like the super name brand ones that people are familiar with, like Sears, they usually cost more. And if you get like a J.C. Penney's, they usually cost more. I find that the Montgomery Ward's are a little bit more affordable. But if you're someone who's like into all-encompassing vintage, like I like vintage clothing, but I also like vintage, like collecting vintage machinery, electronics, things like that. I think the $34 is worth it because then you can, it's like a guide to decorating and things like that. And look at the little lawnmowers. The way I want one of these, not to actually mow my lawn, although I really could, because the amount of mowable lawn that I have is like minuscule. So I really could, but I would love to like have one for like photos and things like that. But I got this car now taking up space in the garage, so probably not the best idea to just have stuff for pictures. She who gives OF. Hello, everybody. Sorry I'm late. Just getting off work. Welcome, welcome. You can always watch on the playback. I'm so glad that you popped in anyway. That's so sweet of you. Um. Oh. So yeah. Vintage catalogs are fun. They're great for looking up inspiration. And then if you have an embroidery machine and want to use that function, and I feel like I'm an embroidery machine spokesperson when I'm just now figuring it out on my own. But like that's where I intend on getting my inspiration is going through old catalogs and stuff to figure out how I can implement it into my sewing because I've always wanted to just add more to my work. I feel like once I get like the construction down, then I want to learn more techniques. Your stove is from Bewitched. How did you get it? Facebook Marketplace. That's where I get all of my True Vintage stuff. So this is like my tip to True Vintage. When you shop on Facebook Marketplace, in most cases, people are selling to get rid of. It's not like a reseller's market. So when it ends up over there, people are trying to get it out of their house. And because I think that vintage is hard to dispose of because one, they're extra heavy. So I had to hire someone to get the stove into my house. Like it was we had already gotten it to our house, but we could not get it into our house. So we had to hire a moving company at the very last minute. Like, because usually you have to book moving people in advance. And I had to just call somewhere and say, hey, do you have a singular moving person who can help us get our stove into the house? Because otherwise, we didn't know what to do. Like, we literally didn't know what to do. We couldn't move it. So, so vintage is really hard to move and it's hard to dispose of, and it can get expensive for the person who doesn't want it. So I find that Facebook Marketplace is the perfect place to buy things because there's usually either going to give it away to you for free, they're going to give it to you at a reduced price, or it's already pretty low because like the person doesn't know what else to do with it. So Facebook Marketplace is like my tip for true vintage. I can't really give you tips in any other kind of way because that's the only way that I know how to get true vintage at an affordable cost. And that's obviously a regional thing. So the more you're willing to travel, the better you will be when it comes to getting stuff. And then we don't have a truck or anything either. So we usually have to rent like a U-Haul or something like that to pick up bigger items. When we brought the Corvair home, we had to also arrange to get like a U-Haul auto transport and a truck to tow the transport because we don't have a towing capable vehicle here. This is an Amish outfitter and has all those hand pushed mowers plus so many vintage type items. Oh, I missed that part. A lot of layman's. Ooh, I'm gonna have to search that out. So I was gonna just go on Facebook Marketplace like I do everywhere else and find something just for photos. But I feel like I could take a break because I feel like every weekend I'm like calling my husband up and being like, "Hey, did you see that link I just sent you on Facebook? Do you think we can go get it?" Um, can you drop the name? Oh, but yeah, I absolutely love the flare. There's more accessories for it that I need to get. Like I would love to get the original exhausts for the flare because they had a special exhaust that pulled out just like the range, and those are harder to find since they were optional. And I'm pretty sure I'm done pretty much with the kitchen. One of these days, I would like to get the refrigerator that I recently got professionally restored, which I did find a place that will do it, but like I just need to really save up to get the refrigerator restored because they charge quite a bit, but I trust them. Their work is impeccable, and they pretty much just modernize the refrigerator. So I'll send it to them, they'll completely restore it, and they'll put in all new whatever needs to get in there, a refrigerating system, and then they'll replace like the seal with like a magnet seal so that way a child can't accidentally lock themselves in there. Not that they could in mine anyway because it's like not that big. Um, Plus my kids can't open the door. Yay! It's too hard for them to open the door, but I would like to eventually have my refrigerator redone because it definitely needs work, but because it keeps things cool, we haven't like stopped to figure it out. Like it probably needs to have what the refrigerant or coolant whatever replaced. It probably needs that done, but it stays pretty cool, so it is what it is for right now. But I could see in the next 2 to 3 years we get the refrigerator completely restored. It's a 19 I want to say it's at the 1949 1950s, like right in between because it doesn't have any shelves in the door. Philco. Eden, yay for incidental childproofing. Yes, I the kids don't go in the kitchen. We have two gates, so they can't go into the kitchen. Um, but yesterday, my son was trying to open it because I think he wanted berries. I can't remember why he wanted to, but he's like pulling it, and he couldn't even like. So the latch is like a lever, so you have to pull it down and then pull it out, and he couldn't even get the latch to budge. Like, and he was really trying. So I was like, well, that's very nice. The muted pastels are timeless. They absolutely are. Thank you so much. You love my stove and my house and the lifestyle, how my lifestyle is set up. It's definitely something I had been dreaming of my whole life, but wasn't sure that it was going to be possible. Like if I showed you my original Pinterest board when me and Mr. Serena met, it was like we'd have like retro refrigerators and like little random retro dishes and things like that. Like it was the most random Pinterest board ever. And now we're like living in that dream, but it's less chaotic, I guess. It's more put together, and I figured it out. We got our push mower for free because one of the wheels was messed up. A few minutes of work, and my husband had it rolling. Yep. Bye, Jerome. Have a wonderful night, and have a safe and wonderful weekend. Thanks for being here with me. Uh, oh, that's another thing. I'm glad you brought that up, Gatsby girl. We buy broken things on purpose. That's another one of our marketplace tips. We buy broken things, and my husband just assesses if it's the type of broken that's a quick fix or if it's the type of broken that we should pass on. But we usually never buy anything in mint condition or anything that doesn't need work because the price goes up a lot if it works and doesn't need any kind of work. So we purposely go after the things that don't work. Dadia, oh, I meant to tell you I loved your gingerbread house. Thank you so much. I was thinking about making another one last week. Not last week, but I was thinking about making one over the summer for more practice, like a gingerbread cottage or something. Because I do want to go bigger next Christmas, and I don't want it to be as stressful. It was really hard. It was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be last Christmas. And so I wanted to practice a little bit more now. So that way, when Christmas time rolls around, I'll feel a little bit more confident in my efforts. It's such a blessing to live your dream. Thank you. Yes. And I think it's a blessing to live your like creative dream, right? I feel like my my house, everything, it's my house is like the holder of my collection. Like if people have like shelves that they keep their collections on, my house is that container for my collection. And I think it's really cool to be able to like go and grab pieces that I really like, and my home be the place where they're displayed and it's a functional collection. Um, that's really neat to me. And I do realize how lucky I am to be able to have that, especially since it doesn't put me in any kind of extra expense to do this because I have someone who's willing to like work on the pieces for me. And I do find that I'm at an advantage to be able to buy broken things and have them fixed up within a weekend or two. And then now I have the piece that I needed to complete my kitchen or the piece that I needed to complete my living room. I think that's a really special thing to have. Nobody else. Hi there. Love your videos. When's your passion for vintage start? Every outfit you make is so beautiful. It started as a kid. Like I was heavily influenced by cartoons and like mid-century themed backdrops and settings, like the Jetsons and things like that. Tom and Jerry's, like cartoons like that were very like inspirational to me. Scooby Doo, hence this custom wallpaper I have behind me. Um, I love all of it, and I try because I do kind of want to flow in my house. If you guys notice that there's certain parts of my house that are not necessarily mid-century, like my bedroom is Art Deco, but once you close the door, you can't tell. And then the rest of my house is mid-century, and I kind of styled my home in such a way that I feel like is very realistic to um, actual normal people. So we used to live in my husband's grandmother's house, and her house was built in the 70s, but it still had 1950s fixtures and things like that. Like her kitchen was a 1950s kitchen, even though the home was a 1970s home. And then you could see the 1970s in the like living area, and like as she moved through the decades, you'd find stuff from other decades because she kept all of the things that she owned. And then you even had antiques there because she still had the things that she brought to the home. So I kind of take with my own house. It's a 1950s house, but in the basement it's 1960s or late 60s 70s feel. But also this basement was renovated in like the 60s or 70s anyway. It used to have wood paneling that the old owners painted. I was so annoyed. I was so annoyed. So I painted it green because it was already painted, but like it had wood paneling down here and things like that. So like I try and treat my house the same way, so that way I get to enjoy all of the decades that I like. So the basement is like 70s ish, and then I try and keep 50s and 60s upstairs since this house was built in 58. So it was like in between two decades. So I try and keep everything kind of 50s, 60s in the main part of the house, and then my room, since it's like its own section of the house, I went with Art Deco for that room. Um, and no one can really tell unless you've been on like my Instagram and stuff. Once that door is closed, it looks like a 50s, 60s house. Um, yes, a lot of women get taken advantage relying on a male to fix stuff. Oh yeah. Um, you are very lucky to have your husband that can repair things. Oh yes, I am. I am, and honestly, he kind of he was the turning point for vintage and vintage decorating because I would always pass on appliances because I'm like, oh, this doesn't work, so I can't have it. And then one day he was just like, well, I never used to think out loud. So one day he heard me and he was like, you know, I can fix that, right? And I'm like, can you really? And he's like, yeah, it's not that simple. We can go buy the wires from Home Depot or we can buy this from here. And then I was just like, and ever since then, I was like, okay, well, can you fix it? And he's like, yeah. So he kind of like turned me into the monster that I am today. Your absolute dream outfit to make. Um, it's probably a grand, super over the top, ridiculous wedding dress, but it doesn't even need to be like white anymore. Like, I just want to make something grand, super, and over the top. And maybe it could be a historical dress at this point. Something like that, or something. I know it's something very structured because I would be satisfied with a super um, like Vogue inspired suit, like a really nicely tailored suit. I would also be equally as happy as doing something like that too. Mercedes Nicole. Wow, so glad to catch you on live. I love your entire life. Thank you. Thank you so much. I want to do these more. And the thing is like I'm a creature of habit. So once I don't do something for a while, it's really hard for me to like get back into the hang of things. And when I saw that it'd been a month since the last time I streamed, I was like, okay, I need to get it together. Like I need to get back into the swing of things. And the next time I go live, I am going to try and have my fabric washed, and I'm going to try and sew a little to see what it looks like for you guys. So you guys can give me feedback and let me know if like the machine's too loud. Don't sew over there, cause I don't know. I feel like this machine is kind of quieter. So if it's too loud on one of my older machines to sew, then I can probably just sew on this one, and we can just test all that out and figure out what works for you guys. Because right now my mic is through the webcam and stuff like that, and I'm still just figuring it all out. Where did you find your folding trunk suitcase? Ever since I saw your video on your luggage, I've been scouring the internet. Facebook Marketplace. I got the two green ones, the huge green ones, for $15. Like, they just didn't want it anymore. So I thought they were tiny from the picture, the angle. I thought they were like those really small weekender one bags that was like, they're like this big. But no, they're like the size of my whole body. So I got them both for $15. Um, and search online for international tourister or American tour no American Tourister, getting my brands mixed up. American Tourister folding suitcase or suit carrier, and then a few should pop up on eBay because I think I saw a red one and a brown one maybe a month ago. So search those. You have to like I like to search Google and then let Google help me figure it out, which is the best place. You're so talented. Your dreams. Kisses from Switzerland. Mwah. Thanks for being here. I'm always so astounded that I have international viewers. Um, oh, sewing. Yes, Ashley, I'm going to try and get like you. I would love to create. live, but I don't know. I'm a little chicken. You know how I am. I have to ease into everything. Yes, it is so cool to have an international family. Like, yay, I'm so excited. Um, Thank you so much for this chat. Thank you so much for being here, Dadia. Thank you. I hope I'm pronouncing your name properly. I hope Dadia is the way to say it. I don't want to be saying it wrong over and over. But thank you all so much for being here. It's been so much fun. Next time I will have the shows put together. So let's try and catch up on Marvelous Miss Maisel. If you haven't caught up, I am not caught up. So we can talk about it. I will say in general that I'm disappointed with her wardrobe. Not that I don't like the pieces. I actually like the pieces. But they kind of portrayed her as like the super fashionable person, and I feel like her mom's more fashionable because you can see her mom's wardrobe progressing through the decades, and I feel like Midge is kind of very comfortable in like that 50s that 50s silhouette as a character, and I would love to have seen her do some more like A-lined things like her mom does. Like her mom's wardrobe is phenomenal. Absolutely love it. And I don't feel like Midge is really giving what I expect her to. Though the costumes are fantastic. I just wish that she would like change her hair through the time, like do more updos for the 60s and change her silhouette a little bit more for the 60s. But like the outfits themselves, I actually adore. Just not for the storyline. So thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you so much for supporting my channel and keeping me company and spending your time with me. I really, really appreciate it. Don't forget to like this stream. Follow me on Instagram at Serena underscore. And have a safe and wonderful rest of your weekend. Bye. Let's see.